Hi my fellow Africa. I hope you have heard the About Africa Agenda 2063. What is it? It is a strategic framework for the socio-economic transformation of the continent over the next 50 years. It builds on, and seeks to accelerate the implementation of past and existing continental initiatives for growth and sustainable development. Agenda 2063. Rooted in Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance, provides a robust framework for addressing past injustices and the realization of the 21st century as the African century. Some of the past and current initiatives it builds on include the Lagos Plan of Action, the Abuja Treaty, the Minimum Integration Program, the Program for Infrastructural Development in Africa, PIDA, the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, CAADP, the New Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD, regional plans and programs and national plans. It is also built on national, regional, continental best practices in its formulation. The voices of the African people. 1. We, the people of Africa and her diaspora, united in diversity, young and old, men and women, girls and boys from all walks of life, deeply conscious of history, express our deep appreciation to all generations of Pan-Africanists. In particular, to the founders of the Organization of African Unity for having bequeathed us an Africa with exemplary successes in the fight against slavery, colonialism and apartheid. Agenda 2063, rooted in Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance, provides a robust framework for addressing past injustices and the realization of the 21st century as the African century. 2. We echo the Pan-African call that Africa must unite in order to realize its Renaissance. Present generations are confident that the destiny of Africa is in their hands, and that they must act now to shape the future they want. 50 years after the first 33 independent African states took a landmark decision to form the Organization of African Unity, we are looking ahead towards the next 50 years. 3. In this new and noble initiative, past plans and commitments have been reviewed, and we pledge to take into account lessons from them as we implement Agenda 2063. These include mobilization of the people and their ownership of continental programs at the core, the principle of self-reliance, and Africa financing its own development. The importance of capable, inclusive, and accountable states and institutions at all levels and in all spheres. The critical role of regional economic communities as building blocks for continental unity. Taking into account of the special challenges faced by both island and landlocked states, and holding ourselves and our governments and institutions accountable for results. Agenda 2063 will not happen spontaneously, it will require conscious and deliberate efforts to nurture a transformative leadership that will drive the agenda and defend Africa's interests. 4. We rededicate ourselves to the enduring Pan-African vision of an integrated, prosperous and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the international arena. African Aspirations FOR 2063. 5. Our united voices paint a picture of what we desire for ourselves, for future generations and the continent. 6. The aspirations reflect our desire for shared prosperity and well-being, for unity and integration, for a continent of free citizens and expanded horizons, where the full potential of women and youth, boys and girls are realized, and with freedom from fear, disease and want. 7. Africa is self-confident in its identity, heritage, culture and shared values and, as a strong, united and influential partner on the global stage, making its contribution to peace, human progress, peaceful coexistence and welfare. In short, a different and better Africa. 8. We are confident that Africa has the capability to realize her full potential in development, culture and peace, and to establish flourishing, inclusive and prosperous societies. 9. We are determined to eradicate poverty in one generation and build shared prosperity through social and economic transformation of the continent. 10. We aspire that by 2063, Africa shall be a prosperous continent, with the means and resources to drive its own development, with sustainable and long-term stewardship of its resources, and where, with modernized infrastructure, and people have access to affordable and decent housing, including housing finance, together with all the basic necessities of life such as water, sanitation, energy, public transport and ICT. Economies are structurally transformed to create shared growth, decent jobs and economic opportunities for all. Modern agriculture for increased production, productivity and value addition contributes to farmer and national prosperity and Africa's collective food security. And Africa's unique natural endowments, its environment and ecosystems, including its wildlife and wildlands, are healthy, valued and protected, with climate-resilient economies and communities. 11. By 2063, African countries will be amongst the best performers in global quality of life measures. This will be attained through strategies of inclusive growth, job creation, increasing agricultural production, investments in science, technology, research and innovation, gender equality, youth empowerment, and the provision of basic services including health, nutrition, education, shelter, water and sanitation. 12. Africa's collective GDP will be proportionate to her share of the world's population and natural resource endowments. 13. Africa's agriculture will be modern and productive, using science, technology, innovation and indigenous knowledge. The hand-hoe will be banished by 2025 and the sector will be modern, profitable and attractive to the continent's youths and women. 14. Africa's human capital will be fully developed as its most precious resource, through sustained investments based on universal early childhood development and basic education, and sustained investments in higher education, science, technology, research and innovation, and the elimination of gender disparities at all levels of education. Access to postgraduate education will be expanded and strengthened to ensure world-class infrastructure for learning and research and support scientific reforms that underpin the transformation of the continent. 15. Africa's blue ocean economy, which is 3 times the size of its landmass, shall be a major contributor to continental transformation and growth, through knowledge on marine and aquatic biotechnology, the growth of an Africa-wide shipping industry, the development of sea, river and lake transport and fishing, and exploitation and beneficiation of deep-sea mineral and other resources. 16. Whilst Africa at present contributes less than 5% of global carbon emissions, it bears the brunt of the impact of climate change. Africa shall address the global challenge of climate change by prioritizing adaptation in all our actions, drawing upon skills of diverse disciplines with adequate support, affordable technology development and transfer, capacity building, financial and technical resources, to ensure implementation of actions for the survival of the most vulnerable populations, including island states, and for sustainable development and shared prosperity. 17. Africa will participate in global efforts for climate change mitigation that support and broaden the policy space for sustainable development on the continent. Africa shall continue to speak with one voice and unity of purpose, in advancing its position and interests on climate change. 18. Africa shall have equitable and sustainable use and management of water, resources for socio-economic development, regional cooperation and the environment. 19. Since 1963, the quest for African unity has been inspired by the spirit of Pan-Africanism, focusing on liberation, and political and economic independence. It is motivated by development based on self-reliance and self-determination of African people, with democratic and people-centered governance. 20. We aspire that by 2063, Africa shall be a united Africa. Have world-class, integrative infrastructure that crisscrosses the continent. Have dynamic and mutually beneficial links with her diaspora. And be a continent of seamless borders, and management of cross-border resources through dialogue. 21. Africa shall be an integrated, united, peaceful, sovereign, independent, confident and self-reliant continent. 22. Africa will witness the rekindling of solidarity and unity of purpose that underpinned the struggle for emancipation from slavery, colonialism, apartheid and economic subjugation. By 2020 all remnants of colonialism will have ended and all African territories under occupation fully liberated. We shall take measures to expeditiously end the unlawful occupation of the Chagos Archipelago, the Comorian island of Mayotte and affirm the right to self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. All kinds of oppression, including gender, racial and other forms of discrimination will be ended. 23. The political unity of Africa will be the culmination of the integration process, which includes the free movement of people and the establishment of continental institutions, leading to full economic integration. By 2030, there shall be consensus on the form of the continental government and institutions. 24. Africa shall be a continent where the free movement of people, capital, goods, and services will result in significant increases in trade and investments amongst African countries rising to unprecedented levels, and in the strengthening of Africa's place in global trade. 25. By 2063, the necessary infrastructure will be in place to support Africa's accelerated integration and growth, technological transformation, trade and development. This will include high-speed railway networks, roads, shipping lines, sea and air transport, as well as well-developed ICT and the digital economy. A Pan-African high-speed train network will connect all the major cities capitals of the continent, with adjacent highways and pipelines for gas, oil, water, as well as ICT broadband cables and other infrastructure. This will be a catalyst for manufacturing, skills development, technology, research and development, integration and intra-African trade, investments and tourism. 26. The world-class infrastructure, accompanied by trade facilitation, will see intra-African trade growing from less than 12% in 2013 to approaching 50% by 2045. Africa's share of global trade shall rise from 2% to 12%. This will in turn spur the growth of Pan-African companies of global reach in all sectors. 27. Africa shall have a universal culture of good governance, democratic values, gender equality, respect for human rights, justice and the rule of law. 28. We aspire that by 2063, Africa will be a continent where democratic values, culture, practices, universal principles of human rights, gender equality, justice and the rule of law are entrenched, and have capable institutions and transformative leadership in place at all levels. 29. The continent's population will enjoy affordable and timely access to independent courts and judiciary that deliver justice without fear or favor. Corruption and impunity will be a thing of the past. 30. Africa will be a continent where the institutions are at the service of its people. Citizens will actively participate in the social, economic and political development and management. Competent, professional, rules and merit-based public institutions will serve the continent and deliver effective and efficient services. Institutions at all levels of government will be developmental, democratic, and accountable. 31. There will be transformative leadership in all fields: political, economic, religious, cultural, academic, youth and women, and at continental, regional, national and local levels. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for next videos. Together we can make Africa great.